This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
These are not radical demands, they're basic standards.
Criminalize state and local officials openly defying federal law.
Hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
On the brink. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. That's true in a couple of major news stories today. We'll begin in Washington, where a midnight deadline to pass new federal government funding seems unlikely to be met in time to avoid a partial shutdown this weekend. Both sides holding appropriations up over immigration enforcement funding. New York Democrat Chuck Schumer says their demands include ICE body cameras, judicial warrants, and agents no more masks.
These are not radical demands, they're basic standards the American people already expect from law enforcement. I hope we can get voting quickly here in the Senate today so we can move forward on the important work of reining in ICE.
But some Republicans want reform of a different sort. South Carolina's Lindsey Graham.
I will not lift my hold on this bill until I get guaranteed a vote on my legislation that would criminalize state and local officials openly defying federal law that's been on the books for decades.
It looks like even if there is some sort of quick Senate deal, it wouldn't be acted on in the House until they're back in session on Monday. The clock's also ticking loudly in Iran right now, though exactly what the deadline there is to trigger U.S. military action is a mystery to all but a few.
Hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only they know for sure.
Have you communicated that to
Yeah, I have.
President Trump, Pentagon correspondent Jennifer Griffin says the U.S. is almost ready for action.
The U.S. continues to surge military assets into the region, including a carrier strike group, the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is now in the Arabian Sea with dozens of stealth fighter jets.
Protests have quieted down in Iran, but Moshe Madara with the group Iranian Diaspora Collective tells Fox News that's only because protesters are in hiding after tens of thousands were killed by police and government forces.
People are stuck inside, for all intents and purposes, house arrest. They're now starting to get the news that the numbers are 36,000, upwards of 40, 50,000.
She says Iran has gone back on a promise to halt executions of arrested protesters. Protests along with school and business walkouts in Minnesota and some other places today. Border Czar Tom Homan on efforts to de-escalate the situation in Minnesota.
What we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient by the book.
He was asked about his take on the ICE-involved shooting deaths of Renee Goody and Alex Preddy.
Do I have an opinion? Yeah, my personal opinion. But I'm not going to share that with you. I'm going to tell you, let the investigation play out, see where it goes.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says Democratic leaders should
change their rhetoric because it is encouraging the kind of violence that we see on their streets today.
Also today, former CNN anchor Don Lemon being held in Los Angeles. He's charged with conspiracy and interfering with the First Amendment rights of worshipers in Minnesota during a protest that disrupted a St. Paul church service. 3 million more pages. Slowly but surely, the massive files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation are seeing the light of day after a delay that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says was absolutely necessary.
To protect victims, we redacted every woman depicted in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell. We did not redact images of any men, unless it was impossible to redact the woman without also redacting the man.
Blanche says millions more pages still remain in the hands of the DOJ until they're cleared. President Trump naming his new Fed chair nominee, Wall Street veteran Kevin Warsh. Bank rate analyst Sarah Foster tells CBS it's important for a Fed chair to keep politics out of their decision-making.
A lot of lawmakers and markets are going to need whoever Trump nominates to really prove to them that he will remain politically independent.
The pick has to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Well, winter weather, it's been a big story around here and elsewhere lately, and it will continue to be this weekend. Lots of power still out in states like Mississippi from last weekend's ice storm. The Northeast Electric Power Association's Keith Hayward tells CBS.
The roads were completely locked up, very, very dangerous. Trees across the roads that we could not get through to even get to some of our customers.
Now here comes a new storm, this one targeting the East Coast.
Winter weather alerts cover hundreds hundreds of miles across the lower mid-Atlantic states, from north sections of Georgia into the eastern parts of Tennessee and Kentucky on up into West Virginia. It also includes some midsections of Virginia.
WCBS meteorologist Craig Allen. Well, she played Kevin's guilt-stricken mother in Home Alone.
What's the matter?
Terrible feeling that we didn't do something.
What else could we be forgetting?
Kevin! What kind of mother am I?
Actress Catherine O'Hara dead at the age of 71, according to multiple reports, a cause not revealed yet. O'Hara best known for that role as the mother of Macaulay Culkin's Kevin character in the first two Home Alone movies. Culkin posting a tribute to her on Instagram today saying, quote, "Mama, I thought we had time. I wanted more. I wanted to sit in a chair next to you. I heard you, but I had so much more to say. I love you. I'll see you later." O'Hara also won a 2020 Emmy for her television work. And a tough blow for longtime U.S. downhill skiing champ Lindsey Vonn. Just ahead of the Winter Olympics, she's been hurt in a crash while landing a jump during her final run at a World Cup event in Switzerland. She was helicoptered off the course. Vonn recently spoke about the ins and outs of competing in the Olympics at age 41.
Physically in possibly the best shape I've ever been in, which is fun.
Vonn hurt her left knee. She already has a titanium implant in her right knee. Vonn's first scheduled Olympic race just over a week away. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, we'll recap some of our top local stories and have highlights from this week's Capital Connection.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A bitter cold weekend is ahead. A weekend that brings some sun and some lake flakes. Tonight, a bitter cold night, patchy clouds and flurries. Lake snow will accumulate several inches of fluff south and southeast of Lake Ontario, close to the lake. Low temperatures in most areas, sub-zero. Frigid tomorrow, some continued lake snow on the south shore of Lake Ontario. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sunshine, couple of flurries. High temps near just over 10.
Sure hope it warms up one of these days. Thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. A trio of Republican Pennsylvania lawmakers proposing a law calling for the sterilization of child predators. Details from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
The legislation would allow courts to order chemical or surgical sterilization of child sex offenders to permanently prevent them from committing similar crimes in the future. 11 other states already have similar laws on the books. The memo on the bill states the threat of such a severe and lasting consequence will serve as a strong deterrent for potential predators. The bill has yet to be introduced in Pennsylvania. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. New York Governor Kathy Hochul holding a roundtable yesterday on how to keep kids safe online.
Those who are moms here know that that is what we wake up and think about all day and go to bed thinking about, how we can protect our kids.
She says the Empire State has led the nation in internet safety laws, but it's getting harder and harder to stay ahead of criminals behind the screen.
The threats keep evolving, and every year since I've been governor, we've been passing legislation to try to get ahead of where the social media platforms are, where the predators are, where the people trying to monetize our kids' mental health, where they all are. So we take our steps, we pass nation-leading laws, and then the next year, like, okay, but now they're doing this.
The Democrats proposing social media warning labels, restricting addictive feeds, and adding safeguards against AI. Meantime, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is calling on state lawmakers to pass a cell phone ban for all 500 school districts statewide. Bipartisan legislation was introduced back in October. It requires K-12 schools to implement bell-to-bell bans for the 2026-27 academic year. That legislation, however, has yet to come up for a vote in either the House or the Senate. Now, sure was a chilly start to the day across New York and PA. A lot of school districts pushing back start times to allow the mercury to rise at least a little bit before those school buses rolled out.
A 2-hour delay allows buses to make sure that they're running properly, that they get started properly in the cold.
Brandon Long with the West Shore School District outside of Harrisburg, who says those 2 hours can make a big difference.
Daylight helps everything. Drivers are able to see the kids easier over the snow. The kids are able to be warmed up just a little bit more by that too.
And most of Pennsylvania and New York remain under cold weather advisories through tomorrow morning. Up next, highlights from this week's Capital Connection as our Bob Price looks at some of the pressing issues in Albany and Harrisburg with Jason McGuire from New York Families and Michael Geer with the Pennsylvania Family Institute. They focus here on physician-assisted suicide.
Jason, I want to begin with you. Governor Hochul promised to sign this controversial Medical Aid in Dying Act, a physician-assisted suicide bill, into law in the month of January. That hasn't happened yet. Do you know why, and what will happen once she does sign that bill?
Yeah, it's a little surprising because, as we were all told, it was going to move in January, and it has not and will not at this point. So we're waiting to see what will happen. I imagine it is just a matter of time, and that the legislature will get around to moving that legislation. But every day that we do not have assisted suicide in our state is a good day for those who are terminally ill.
Yeah, and of course, when she signs the bill, there'll be a 6-month waiting period, and then it'll be the law of the land. And Michael, you're talking about this as well. You hosted a webinar actually yesterday all about the dangers of doctor-assisted suicide. This is not law in Pennsylvania yet, but why did you feel it was important to address this issue head on?
Right, we're trying to get ahead of the curve, at least here in Pennsylvania, when we look at the surrounding states like New York and New Jersey, Maryland, facing these issues. Basically, we wanted to do this webinar, number one, to educate pastors, but general citizens about the legislation pending in the General Assembly about this issue. We don't expect it to move this year, but the results of the election this fall could turn the tide on this, and so we need citizens to be well informed to understand the challenges that are coming and what happens when a state does turn its medical profession into a killing profession. That's not something we want to see here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in Canada, 1 out of every 20 deaths now, Jason, is a result of physician-assisted suicide. New York State is about to feel the effects of this. Wondering if you can wax philosophic for a moment or two and talk about what happens to a culture, as Michael mentioned, that normalizes suicide as a medical solution rather than a tragedy that should be prevented at all costs.
Well, I think culturally there is an overall lessening of the sanctity of human life. We have seen it at the beginning of life issues. We are now seeing it at the end of life issues. It puts pressure on those who are terminally ill for financial reasons, for example, to end their lives early so their families can have the life insurance policies that they may need rather than the cost of the medical care. It impacts doctors when they begin to see suicide as an acceptable form of treatment for those that are facing a terminal illness. So there are a lot of problems. I think of disability rights community, folks there that are fighting for their lives every day when they're struggling just to get approvals for wheelchairs and other durable medical devices they might need. Those are costly things. And the doctors tend to question quality of life oftentimes for disabled people. Many of my disabled friends just want to live.
Yeah. Micah, you argue that those who espouse doctor-assisted suicide is about managing pain. Completely wrong, because this is not driven by pain management. More seems to be driven by fear and loneliness and depression. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we see this epidemic of mental health issues in our country, and then when we see, you mentioned about 1 out of every 20 deaths there in Canada being a result of physician-assisted suicide, or as they call it, medical aid in dying. And in many of those cases, it's, again, that loneliness, depression, and those sorts of things that make people feel like I'm just a burden on society. And then when you have a medical profession or insurance companies that don't want to shell out the dollars to provide the services and things that Jason just talked about, those things make people think, well, maybe I'm just better off dead. And then to have a society and a medical profession say, maybe you're right about that. Maybe you are better off dead is just counter to biblical principles, counter to what is right, and something, again, why we're educating people here in Pennsylvania about why they need to fight this agenda here in our state.
Jason McGuire from New York Families and Michael Geer with the Pennsylvania Family Institute speaking with our Bob Price on today's Capital Connection. That's only part of what they covered, though. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Understanding what the Bible says about money begins with understanding what the Bible means. Hi, I'm Rob West with another Faith and Finance Minute. Scripture is rich with wisdom for our financial lives. Verses about stewardship, generosity, contentment, and God's provision. But we have to handle those verses carefully. We get into trouble when we pull a passage out of context or use it to justify what we already want to do. These aren't financial formulas or loopholes to exploit. They're invitations to align our hearts with God's heart. When we read the Bible as it was written, within its context, its intent, and its bigger story of redemption, we find guidance far better than anything we could manufacture. So don't just quote Scripture, understand it, and let it shape the way you handle God's money. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith-Fi community. Download Faith-Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Thanks, Rob. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, what started as a simple plea for a few sticks of firewood sparked something so much bigger. The story after Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A bitter cold weekend is ahead, a weekend that brings some sun and some lake flakes as an offshore storm misses us well out at sea. Our call for tonight, a bitter cold night. We'll see moonlight, starlight, patchy clouds and flurries. Lake snow will accumulate several inches of fluff south and southeast of Lake Ontario, close to the lake. Low temperatures in most areas, sub-zero. Frigid tomorrow, some continued lake snow on the south shore of Lake Ontario. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sunshine, couple of flurries. High temps near just over 10. And we'll have some sun Sunday after a cloudy start, but still bitter with high temperatures on Sunday in the teens.
Warm up one of these days. Thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, things were rough for 85-year-old North Carolina resident Nana Abernathy. Recently widowed, broke between Social Security checks, she reached out to a local tree removal company just hoping for some firewood to ward off the winter chill in her small home. But the company owner, Paul Britton, moved by her plight, showed up with a free full load of firewood.
Sometimes you got to give back to others. We've been blessed. We're in some slow months right now, but there ain't no better feeling than giving to somebody that's in need of it.
Indeed, a kind gesture, but Britton, touched by his visit with Abernathy, was just getting started. In the days that followed, he and his crew fixed her leaking roof, repaired her heating unit, even put new tires on her car, all for free. Then came the GoFundMe he started for her. $20,000 later, he stopped back in to give her the good news.
You've had millions of people watching your little journey over that load of firewood. It just turned into something amazing. I really can't believe it. It's amazing what God will do, though.
You better believe it. Thank everyone of you. I don't deserve this. And all I wanted was a load of wood I never dreamed.
That's the kind of warmth that goes beyond mere firewood. And that's the world we live in for Friday, January 30th, 2026. Thank you again for joining us. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.